What's up everybody, my name is Kyle, and happy Halloween weekend. I hope you all are having a spooky time, but if you want more spookiness, then today I'm going to talk to you about what El Chupacabra is. El Chupacabra, or in English, the goat sucker, is a legendary cryptozoological creature that is popular in Latin American culture, a terrifying beast known for attacking animals and consuming their blood. The Chupacabra actually has two different depictions, one of which is described as a 4 to 5 feet tall reptilian creature that has huge red eyes and spikes on its back. The other version is more canine in appearance, sharing some resemblances to the kangaroo, and like its reptilian counterpart, it also has spikes running down its spine. As its name suggests, the Chupacabra is most infamously known to suck the blood from animal livestock, sharing qualities similar to that of vampires. As well as this, the creature also has enhanced strength, and with the spikes on its back, could cause some serious damage to both prey and predator. Allegedly, its red eyes have the ability to hypnotize its prey, leaving them mentally stunned, which in turn allows the Chupacabra to drain the blood from the animal at its leisure. This definitely makes this cryptid one to not be messed with, as it can be extremely deadly. Despite there being two different iterations of this cryptid, both allegedly have had over 2,000 different sightings. Most commonly, this cryptid has been sighted in various places across America, such as Arizona, Illinois, New Mexico, Florida, and parts of Chile, Brazil, and Mexico, but with the majority of the encounters occurring in Puerto Rico. Coincidentally, the first reported sighting of El Chupacabra was in fact in Puerto Rico, back in March 1995, where 8 sheep were found dead, with 3 strange puncture wounds in the chests of the animals, each completely drained of their blood. Several months later in August of that year, an eyewitness, Madeline Tolentino, allegedly sighted the creature in a Puerto Rican town called Canovanos, where 150 farm animals and pets were killed and found with the same wounds as the sheep. By the end of 1995, the Chupacabra was blamed for more than 1,000 mysterious animal deaths, which all resulted in the same blood loss from a puncture wound. More eyewitnesses came forward, with all of them consistently describing the same thing. In 2008, police were able to get actual cam footage of the alleged Chupacabra. This was back in August of that year in DeWitt County in Texas. The footage shows a canine-like animal running down the side of a road and appears to have some resemblances to the cryptid. It's possible that it could be a stray dog or a coyote, but I'll let you guys decide. The last known sighting of the Chupacabra was in June of this year in 2023, where it was reported that dead livestock had their blood sucked dry in Bolivia. Alleged video drone footage shows a lone creature striding through an open field. This was taken near the city of Oru, and also coincides with the deaths of several cows, llamas and alpacas in the area. The neck wounds that all these creatures had led locals to believe that they'd been killed by a Chupacabra. While some regard El Chupacabra as a cryptid, there are theories similar to that of the lizard man, where people believe it to be alien. This would probably be based more on the reptilian-based version of the Chupacabra. Other theories suggest that the Chupacabra could be mistaken for a different type of animal. In July 2010 in Hood County, Texas, animal control officers shot and killed an alleged Chupacabra. Later on, Texas A&M University scientists conducted tests on the creature, and conducted it to be a coyote-dog hybrid with mange and internal parasites. Mange, for those who aren't familiar with it, is a contagious skin disease caused by parasitic mites, seen predominantly in domesticated animals. This could potentially mean the Chupacabra in most cases could in fact be animals infected with mange. but there's no denying how bizarre the deaths of the livestock are, almost resembling something vampiric. Now it's story time, and today I've found two stories for you guys. The first one is from Reddit and is told by user WrongDeesNuts69. Yeah, that's their name. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and try not to get frightened. My Chupacabra story. I'm a 16-year-old boy and this happened to me when I was 8. I went to Mexico to visit my grandparents with my two brothers for the summer. It was good over at Mexico. We visited many places like the Aztec ruins and the tropical waters. My grandma took me to a little house that she grew up in when she was a child. It was pretty old and felt like it could collapse at any moment. We stayed overnight in a cabin that was sweet. We set up a campfire and ate some s'mores. My grandparents and my brothers were telling me some Mexican urban legends. They mentioned La Llorona, El Cocoy, and La Lechuza. They mentioned the Chupacabra. My parents always told me about the Chupacabra since I was 6. My brothers were trying to scare me and they did pretty well. It was bedtime. I went to sleep and dozed off. I awoke in the middle of the night for no reason. I heard a strange noise outside and I stupidly looked out the window. I couldn't remember much, but I saw a weird, skinny, hairless creature standing outside. I freaked out and I hid under the blankets. I heard scratching noises all night and couldn't sleep. When it was morning, I woke up and went outside. I went to a tree and saw claw marks scratched on it. My brothers saw it as well. My brothers smelled something horrible and we checked it out. We saw a dead deer with 2 punctures on its stomach. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but my brothers knew what was going on. "It's the Chupacabra," my brothers spoke. We came across another carcass and it had the same 2 punctures on its stomach. My brothers were really creeped out and we decided to get the hell out of there. We didn't tell our grandparents and acted like it never happened. 3 years passed and now I was 11. I completely forgot about the Chupacabra incident and I was living a normal life. My mum told us that we'd be visiting my grandparents again with my older cousin. I was happy to see them again after 3 years. We arrived and it was normal. We visited Cancun and Mexico City. We went to the same cabin I went to 3 years ago. I started getting back memories and the Chupacabra incident was back in my head. It was night time. I decided to go back to bed. While asleep, I awoke to a scratching sound. I knew it was the Chupacabra. I looked out of the window this time, not seeing anything. I blinked many times and gave up and decided to go back to bed. I was awoken another time by twigs snapping outside. It was very loud, almost like I had headphones on. I looked and I saw a creature that was hairless and skinny. The creature quickly ran away as the sun was rising. Once the sun had risen, I noticed that my window had some claw marks. I had some delicious breakfast and went outside. I saw broken twigs and sticks. Oddly, there wasn't any footprints, but I returned to the tree I saw 3 years ago, and more claw marks were scratched on. I told my brothers and my cousin who saw it too. We were all spooked out and we saw another carcass of a deer. It had 2 punctures on its stomach as usual. My cousin was dumb and went into the forest alone with a blade. It took 30 minutes for him to return. His face looked like he had witnessed somebody getting shot. He was pale as a ghost and looked scared. "What happened?" I asked. He lifted up his arm and revealed a huge claw mark. He also had 2 red dots on his back, almost resembling the 2 punctures on the deer. To this day, my cousin still won't tell any of us what he saw or what happened when he went into the forest. I'm just glad that he returned and was still alive. I'm not planning to go back to Mexico to see that Chupacabra again. To this day, I sometimes still hear the scratching and clawing marks that I heard when I encountered the Chupacabra at night. I'm just glad that none of us became its next dinner. The next and final story is written by Davy Russell and is a fictional tale told by a character called Lord's Laguna. So once again, turn the lights off, sit back and don't get scared. An encounter with El Chupacabra. My father exploded through the back door leading to our kitchen and slammed it shut. Pressing his full body weight against it, he locked the door, bolted it and then shoved our kitchen table up to it. Then he grabbed the machete that he kept tucked in the narrow space between the refrigerator and the wall. I had never seen my father scared before. He is taller than average and strong. As a former luchador, Mexican wrestler, he isn't easily intimidated. but his eyes were opened wide and he was, as I vividly remembered, shaken to his core. Frantic, he told me to get my younger sister Adriana and hide. I begged him to tell me what was out there. He gripped the machete in the dim light of our kitchen, and with his eyes peering into the darkness beyond the window, muttered, "Un demonio," a demon, but I never got to see it. It was a dark September night in 1992, and I was just 8 years old. Yet that incident stuck with me my entire life. It was weeks before I could coax a description from my father about what he saw in our backyard. I also wanted to know more about how all 5 of our chickens were killed that same night. They were found the next morning, their bodies were intact. He would later tell me that they were completely drained of blood. The only injury was a pair of puncture wounds where the neck meets the chest. 3 of our neighbours also lost chickens in the same manner that night, yet only my father saw the creature responsible. His account goes like this. He walked out into our backyard to check on our chickens, who were making noise and acting agitated. He told me that he saw a bright white light bouncing around just above the treetops. He watched it for a few moments until a moving shadow in the bushes caught his eye. What he saw next sent him into a panic. He described what he saw as a creature unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was less than 1.5 meters, about 4 feet tall and dog-like, but had large glowing red eyes. It stood up on its hind legs and he could see long sharp claws on its forelimbs. He said it had fangs that were at least 10 centimeters long, and while he described it as mostly hairless with blue-grey scaly skin, he said it had long tufts of matted fur, or maybe spines, sticking up from its back. It would be a few more years until the creature that my father saw and named El Demonio had an official name, El Chupacabra, which terrorized the island of Puerto Rico beginning in 1995. The Puerto Rican description of El Chupacabra was similar to the animal my father saw. Subsequent animal mutilations on the island were consistent with my father's experience. A flood of Chupacabra sightings later came from Central and South America, Mexico, and later, the southern United States. There were even sightings from Russia and the Philippines, where it was called the Sigbin. In the years after my father's Chupacabra sighting, I became obsessed with identifying what it was that he really saw. While both my parents attributed supernatural origins to the creature, I was convinced there was either a misidentification of a known predator, or maybe some animal that had yet to be described by science. I read every animal book I could get my hands on. I'd point to pictures of wolves or jaguars or coyotes, or sketches that I made that were a composite of various animals, and say, "Es esta papa?" He'd just shake his head and implore me to forget the whole thing. I didn't believe in El Demonio, despite my traditional Catholic upbringing. I revelled in the delicious rebellion of staunch naturalism, which often distressed my family and led to arguments in my teen years when I'd refused to go to mass. Even as I shed my religion and embraced agnosticism, ghosts and mysterious creatures elicited such a pull on me that I pursued a degree in zoology, mirrored in psychology, and then wrote my PhD thesis on parapsychology. Then I scuttled my academic career aspirations to become a full-time cryptozoologist and paranormal investigator. While they never said so, it was another major disappointment for my parents. I am sure of it. My parents never confronted me with their concerns about my career choices, but they couldn't hide their disappointment and bewilderment in their eyes. My father never encountered the Chupacabra again. He never came forward publicly with his experience either. My sister and I were told to never mention it. It wasn't until we emigrated to the United States and the Chupacabra became a cultural phenomenon that he finally confided in me. They hoped I'd one day be credited with discovering it and proving its existence. In his 2011 book titled Tracking the Chupacabra, author Benjamin Radford exhaustively and meticulously combed through all of the sightings of the Chupacabra, even launching an expedition to find the creature, and concluded that the creature does not exist. The earliest Chupacabra sightings that took place in Puerto Rico were likely the result of mass hysteria, as the descriptions of the creature bore a striking resemblance to the creature's Sill in the science fiction horror film Species, which came out in 1995 and preceded the first Chupacabra sightings in Puerto Rico. Modern reports of the Chupacabra, especially recent reports from northern Mexico and Texas, have been confirmed by biologists as nothing more than coyotes suffering from a parasitic infection that causes hair loss, thickened skin, and abnormal behaviours, such as attacking livestock. Many cryptozoologists consider the case of the Chupacabra solved and closed. However, my father saw something very unusual in the darkness of our backyard in Mexico in 1992. He is convinced that the Chupacabra exists and doesn't believe that what he saw that night was a mangy wild dog lurking in the shadows. He's also eased up on his insistence that the creature is a demon, just as I've eased up on my staunch naturalism. However, my father and I both have a yearning to find out what he saw on that night, so many years ago. To this day, my father possesses a certain edginess when he is in the yard at night, and I can't help but keep my eye on the jungles of my homeland for a glimpse of a red-eyed bipedal canine-like creature that has a penchant for chicken or goat blood. And that was my take on El Chupacabra, an infamous cryptozoological creature popular in Latin American culture, a deadly vampiric-like beast that will hunt and kill animals in order to consume their blood. Do I believe this cryptid is real? Well, I'd say it's a difficult one to decipher. On the one hand, there have been a couple of sightings that have been debunked as dogs or coyotes with mange, which might suggest that El Chupacabra is simply just a misidentified animal. However, on the other hand, this cryptid has had multiple eyewitnesses who all claim to have seen the exact same creature, which so happens to have the same attributes as El Chupacabra. As well as this, all of the animal deaths all have the same cause of death, blood drain from a specific puncture wound, which can't be coincidental. It's possible there's an animal that kills its prey in this way, but it doesn't sound like something common. Of course, I leave it to you, the viewer, to decide. So comment down below if you have any information on El Chupacabra that I haven't mentioned. Do you or someone you know have a true encounter to share? And what do you think? Do you believe this cryptid is real or fake? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!